Rebecca is directed by Ben Wheatley, and it stars Lily James, Armie Hammer, and Kristin Scott Thomas. This 2020 Netflix production is the latest adaptation of the 1938 novel, and I believe there have been several film adaptations since then, but the most famous one is obviously the first one that was directed by the great Alfred Hitchcock and produced by David O. Selznick. The basic premise is that Lily James plays a commoner whose name we'll actually never know. She'll always be referred to by her husband's name, by her husband's last name. She works for this very powerful, high society type aristocrat older lady, and they are in Monte Carlo on holiday. And there she meets a dashing young man played by Armie Hammer, who is from this very wealthy, very powerful British family who lives in this incredible castle called Manderley, and whose wife Rebecca has very recently passed away. They have this sort of romance, they hit it off, they get married, and so she goes back with him to England to live in Manderley, and is really living under the pressure of Rebecca, who is this ghost-like figure that's basically haunting the manor, not in a literal sense, but really haunting Lily James's existence. She's this perfect person almost who everybody seems to admire, everybody loves. Her husband even seems to be still obsessed with her, and she really is living under her shadow. She really isn't helped by Kristin Scott Thomas's character, who is the main help at the castle and really is intent, seemingly, in making Lily James feel less than her previous mistress. I haven't seen the Hitchcock version in quite a while now, but I do remember some elements from it. And I don't think it's in Hitchcock's most interesting films. It's his first American film. And even Hitchcock himself, when he references this film, I believe in the discussions that he had with François Truffaut, admitted that it wasn't a Hitchcock picture, it was a Selznick picture. But it's still obviously a sort of great gothic romance, still a pretty good example of what the Hollywood studio system was capable of making at that time. And what was really striking to me is that that film was released in 1940. It is now 80 years old, and yet it feels far less stuffy, far less ponderous, and far more contemporary than this current adaptation, which is, I have to say, borderline unwatchable. You probably don't want to do the exact same thing that Hitchcock did because you want to offer something new. I don't think this film offers anything new at all. Now, I haven't seen the original Rebecca in a while, but here are two things from the Hitchcock film that really stood out to me. The first one is the way it depicted Manderley. Hitchcock never really used establishing shots. It was just there in the middle of the wilderness. And likewise, he never shot it in a real location. Obviously, a lot of it was shot in a studio. And so a lot of it is actually matte paintings and miniatures. So because it doesn't refer to a real place and is created with these completely artificial techniques, it really helps in making Manderley feel like this incredibly mysterious and frightening place, and reinforces the isolation that the main character is feeling. And this does not in the slightest. And I think that's where we can see Hitchcock's absolute mastery of filmmaking. And Ben Wheatley, I mean, he's a fine genre filmmaker in his own right, but we're clearly not at the same level. And secondly, the most interesting character across this film is the maid, Mrs. Danvers, and the relationship that she develops with the main character, but also the relationship that she had with Rebecca. In the Hitchcock version, she is absolutely terrifying, creepy. She's like this almost ghost-like figure, almost as if she is a physical reincarnation of Rebecca. And most importantly, both relationship between the two women, between Mrs. Danvers, Rebecca, and of course the main character played by Joe Fontaine in the original, there appears to be this really dark sexual tension. And of course, at the time, you couldn't directly evoke that or show it, but it's there. There's something really grimy and perverse, and I think this is what Hitchcock does better than anyone, is the way that he can suggest perversion and voyeurism and sexuality through people's relationships without actually saying it and without actually showing it. And that was 1940. Here we are in 2020, where you can basically do anything you want. I mean, you know, it's not like Ben Wheatley and Netflix are subject to the Hays Code anymore. And there is none of that sexual tension, none of that perversion. It's really, really tame. And I don't know why that is, but it makes the whole film fall completely flat. This version of Rebecca was produced by Netflix, and to me it is the quintessential problem with a lot of these Netflix-produced films and TV series, which you don't see in sort of the better ones that they do when they have like really great auteur filmmakers. But it feels like it was made by an algorithm. It's as if the algorithm just thought, well, Downton Abbey and Peaky Blinders are huge, so let's British it up. Let's go get some actors from there. Let's take this recognizable name and novel, plus it's an adaptation of Hitchcock, and we'll get this British director that cinephiles seem to like, so we can get the film people, and they meshed it together and basically just created content for people to watch in the background while they scroll through Twitter. You know, it's very glossy. It looks like a fucking Dior commercial. A lot of money was spent on basically filler so that Netflix could have something to fart out to its subscribers that day. I think makes it detestable and frankly kind of worthless. So as always, thanks very much for watching the video. Please be sure to hit the like button if you like the review, subscribe if you're new, and until next time, see ya.